Carnivore diet.
Carnivore diet.
Carnivore diet.
Carnivore diet.
Meat and only meat.
What are the best and worst things about the carnivore diet for your health, and how can you use this information to improve your own nutrition? The main benefit of the carnivore diet is that it cuts out almost all ultra-processed foods. In the United States, about 58% of the calories that people eat come from ultra-processed foods. In Canada, it's about 46%. Of course, the carnivore diet only includes animal-based foods, and so it naturally avoids most ultra-processed items. Ultra-processed foods are typically low in key nutrients, fiber, and healthy fats, and high in added sugars and sodium. Unfortunately, dozens of studies have shown really alarming risks associated with eating higher and higher amounts of ultra-processed goods, up to a 50% higher relative risk of cardiovascular mortality, 12 to 40% higher risk of type 2 diabetes, 48% higher risk of anxiety, 55% higher risk of obesity, a higher risk for some types of cancers, and more. Many of those negative effects have been shown to be dose-dependent, where increasing amounts of daily ultra-processed intake leads to higher risks, but really small amounts have little to no effect. So if going carnivore helps avoid ultra-processed foods and sugary drinks, that's a feather in its cap. Now, of course, cutting out processed food is not unique to the carnivore diet. Any whole food-based diet could do that too. Another potential benefit of eating carnivore is that animal-based foods are often very filling, so they may keep you feeling satisfied for longer, and they can be nutrient-dense. Of course, playing plants advocate, some plant-based foods can also be very filling and delicious if prepared appropriately. In one paper on the self-reported health status of over 2,000 individuals on the carnivore diet, 95% of participants reported high levels of satisfaction and improvements in their overall health. Around 66 to 91% reported improvements in well-being, and there were reported improvements in various other medical conditions as well. However, as the authors pointed out, the generalizability of those findings was super-duper uncertain due to selection bias. This is referring to the fact that any people who experienced adverse effects or a lack of health benefits from the carnivore diet probably would have abandoned it, and therefore they wouldn't have been captured in the research survey. There's a built-in selection for people who think it's going well to be more likely to take that survey. Without better data from controlled studies, you simply can't attribute health improvements to the carnivore diet directly from this type of data. That type of selection bias shows up time and time again with anecdotal support for any popular diet. On social media, you will see people comment that they switched to carnivore and have never felt better in their life. What you don't see is comments or videos from people who either felt worse or not much different, and so they abandoned it and went back to how they were eating before. But for the videos that you do see, they may report big effects like their skin cleared up, or their gastrointestinal issues went away, or their mental health improved, or various other health impacts. In my view, it's possible that those health improvements may be due to cutting down on things like sugary drinks and processed snacks and so on, rather than an inherent medicinal effect from eating more meat. Now, to be clear, I am absolutely not saying that people are wrong about the benefits that they feel, just that it's very difficult to determine the exact reason why they're feeling that way. Now, the dark side, the biggest risk.
The more restrictive your diet is, the more likely you will have nutrient deficiencies.
This diet completely excludes fruits and vegetables and says you should only eat meat to lose weight. It doesn't make sense.
In my view, the worst health offense of the carnivore diet is not because of what it includes, but what it does not. Specifically, the lack of dietary fiber and phytonutrients due to the lack of fruits, vegetables, nuts, and beans, and it's important to understand why that's a drawback. A lot of people think the fiber is just about making you go to the bathroom, and it is true that it helps with that. But the real benefit of eating more fiber is that it reduces your risk for pretty much every major disease you could think of. The most important thing to take away here is that adding more dietary fiber to your daily intake is one of the most effective, lowest cost things you could do to reduce your risk of pretty much every chronic disease you can imagine. Unfortunately, on average, adults only get half the recommended intake per day. You should be aiming for about 25 grams of dietary fiber per day for women and 38 grams per day for men. The exact targets are based on 14 grams of dietary fiber per 1,000 calories eaten per day, but that requires you to know your calorie intake, which most people famously estimate very incorrectly. If you don't want to track your daily calories, that's fine, but here's some incentive that you should track your daily fiber intake. Studies have estimated that eating more dietary fiber confers at least a 29% reduction in risk of coronary heart disease, 26% reduced risk of stroke, 19% reduced risk of diabetes, 30% reduced risk of obesity, and the list goes on to include cholesterol, blood pressure, some types of cancers, better blood sugar control, and others. How do you get dietary fiber? By eating a variety of plant-based foods. And the variety is important because there's actually actually many different types of dietary fibers that have different benefits, and you ideally want a mixture. Animal-based foods have zero fiber, so by definition, the carnivore diet is missing out on those potential benefits. That being said, I have recently seen some people online add fruits and vegetables to their carnivore diet, like raspberries and avocados, which have a lot of fiber. I've even seen some animal-based pasta that was actually just spaghetti squash, which was confusing, but from a nutrition perspective at that point, you're basically describing a whole food diet where maybe you eat chicken and eggs and fish and steak, but also avocados and fruits and squash, and you can make it even better by adding in some nuts and beans and a variety of other vegetables, all the while still avoiding processed foods and added sugars. And if you're going to do anything even remotely close to that, that's a big win in my book. So if there's one lesson you can take from this discussion, regardless of your dietary pattern, it's that you should try to add more whole foods to your snacks and meals, ideally including some plant-based whole foods rich in dietary fibers, unless your doctor tells you otherwise. Your gut microbiome and every major organ will thank you.